Hello everyone, my name is Satyadeep. Today I'll talk to you about OCR and machine learning based surface automation, which will help you have a truly intelligent robotic process automation experience. Let's quickly look at our agenda. We'll start off with an overview of what SAP Intelligent RPA is all about. Then we'll go into details of surface automation using machine learning and OCR. And finally, we will see a demo. So let's get started off with the overview. What exactly is SAP Intelligent RPA technology? So you can see there's a very fancy definition written here, but to put it in a very simple language, RPA is all about automating mundane, repetitive, tedious tasks, automating them using a software robot, also known as a bot, so that human beings can focus on more high value tasks. And it basically comes, you can say, in two forms. RPA can be a bot, can be an unattended bot, or it can be an attended bot. An unattended bot is basically a fully automated process where the robots are working autonomously with very limited human supervision. A very simple example of this, let's suppose in your company, you are uploading multiple Excels into an ERP system. You could have a software bot do that for you, right? That's an example of an unattended bot. It will typically run on a server. The other is the attended bot. This is more like your digital assistant. So you are doing some work and the bot will help you, right? So this is also known as desktop remote robotic desktop automation, sorry. So these are the two flavors. Now, quickly, let's see what exactly are the business values of SAP Intelligent RPA. First of all, it increases compliance. So naturally, when a business process gets automated and it's being automated using software bots, you can also uh, make it easier for audit trails to be created. You can document this process. It reduces human errors, of course, and you, of course, gain on speed and efficiency. It provides quick return on investment, and it's also compliant with your infrastructure. What does this mean? Basically, RPA projects don't typically run for a very long time. It's pretty easy to build your first bots. Maybe it takes a few weeks. Also, to start using robotic process automation, you don't really need to change your underlying systems, architecture, or anything. You can basically automate your processes as is. So that's a huge advantage. You are basically automating something and you can do it very rapidly. It, of course, increases service quality. A very common use case for RPA, of course, is in call centers of banks, of insurance companies. And there you will find that this really helps call center agents to, for instance, focus on their customers, whereas mundane tasks are done by bots. And of course, it improves your operations because you can mobilize resources for high value tasks at lower costs. So now that we have an overview of what RPA is all about, let's go into the details of surface automation. So what exactly is surface automation? So as you can see in this picture here, what I'm trying to show you is that you have got a user interface, which of course has got UI controls. So there will be a text box, maybe a checkbox, maybe icons, and of course text, right? That's what UIs look like. And you could detect these things. You could detect these text components and patterns and so on using surface automation from SAP Intelligent RPA. And you could use this information to basically build a bot, to design a bot and run the bot. The reason we call it surface automation is because, as I just explained to you, the automation is happening using visual elements. You do not need to know the underlying DOM of the UI. You don't need to have any idea of what kind of APIs that are there in the backend. You understand the UI just as a human being would understand it, right? From the surface, and you automate it. So now how does this actually work? Why do we first of all use surface automation, right? Uh, think of this. So let us suppose you wanted to automate an SAP GUI system. We have a specific connector for it. If you wanted to automate a Windows system, there are connectors for it. Similarly for Java applications and whatnot. But you could have some very legacy applications for which a connector may not be really required to be made because this is simply not generic enough. It's very niche. In that case, you could consider using surface automation. The other use case, of course, would be when you want to automate something using icons and images that need to be recognized. Another very typical use case is where you are running your bots inside a virtual machine, say Citrix or something, and you're not able to, or you're not allowed to, for whatever reason, to install an agent. So if you're not allowed to install an agent, you cannot have access to the underlying APIs or the DOMs. And then you have to basically automate the entire thing visually. That's when you use surface automation. What are the key capabilities of our surface automation? Of course, as I already said, you can detect text and UI controls. You can detect patterns, which is basically a combination of text and UI controls. Identification of patterns, UI controls, and labels uniquely when duplicates exist. That is, of course, a very important thing to do because any UI will always have a few duplicate patterns. Uh, Adaptations to changes on the UI are also supported to a certain extent. And as of today, we support 3 languages, which is English, German, and French. And how does this all work? What are the technologies that we use? So we are using a combination of optical character recognition or OCR. We are using machine learning. And of course, we are also using some image processing algorithms. And these are all natively embedded into our product, SAP Intelligent RPA. So now let's go into more details. So the first part is label extraction. So as you can see from this image here, you basically have a very simple UI. This is just for illustration purpose, of course. So you have the user field, you have the password field where you want to set some values, right? You want to enter the user and the password. Then you want to choose the language. In this case, it's English from a drop down. Then you want to click on that log on button. And of course, there's also an option to change password, but you wouldn't do both together. I mean, you wouldn't log on and change password at the same time. So what will happen is that OCR is going to be used to extract these labels, user, password, language, and so on. You will also have the coordinates, and this information then can be used to design a bot. And at runtime, of course, the bot will understand what's happening and it can enter values into the user, password, choose a language, and click on log on. So basically, you are automating this particular UI visually. You are not relying on DOM. You're not relying on underlying APIs. But of course, this is a very simple use case. As you can see, there are no duplicates here, right? It's a very simple UI. So how do we really handle a more complicated UI? So then we are going to use something known as template matching and multi-template matching. Let's first of all look at template matching. What is that all about? So as you can see on this image, right, this is a typical UI from SAP, and you can see that there are a bunch of UI controls there or icons there. So next to standard, you can see there is a drop down, then there is a plus sign, then there is a gear icon, and so on and so forth. So if you wanted to build a bot which would be able to recognize these elements and click on them, you would be using template matching, right? Now the question, of course, comes up that how do you identify unique templates when duplicates exist? That's when you're going to be using multi-template matching. So as you can see here in this particular image, there are duplicates, right? And so how do you recognize this? So you can see there is a gear icon on the top and there is also one below. And you basically recognize it by labeling it with an item, right? So in this case, you can see the lower gear icon is labeled with a thing called status. So at runtime, it knows that I'm going to look for the gear icon, which is next to the text called status. And that's how you can uniquely identify this particular gear icon and the bot can click on it. So that's an example of template and multi-template matching. Moving on, of course, just like repetitive templates can be there in a UI, you can also have duplicate text. And how do you go about detecting the correct text from a bunch of duplicates? So this is an example you can see here. The first part is when you're designing the bot at design time, you are going to be selecting a particular field. So here you can see there is a particular field which is highlighted with the orange box, right? So you select this field. This is what you're going to be looking for in runtime as well. And along with it, you specify some coordinates. So you give some coordinates on the height and on the width. Actually, these are not even coordinates. This is more a percentage, which basically says that, okay, at design time, you are seeing this at a particular place, but at runtime, it could shift vertically or horizontally by exactly this amount. And it's basically from 0 to 100%, right? So that's one way that you would be able to detect this text even when it moves around a little bit, or if there are duplicates. And the other, of course, is just like with the icons, you can also use a label by text, which is what you're seeing in the point number 2 there on the screen, right? So you do the above step, which is point number 1, and along with it, you also use a label by. And that way you basically have a very robust way of detecting the particular text that you're looking for. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with a demo, but before we go to the demo, I'll just give you a quick overview of what's going to happen. I've spoken to you about how text is recognized. I've spoken to you about template matching, and I've also spoken to you about how to detect duplicate texts. So this is what we're going to be seeing now. And so now let's have a look at the demo. So as you can see here on the background, you can see the Cloud Factory, and on the foreground, you have a Windows application which is going to be automated. So right now we are just selecting the bot. You can see that this is the agent from which we select the bot, and now the bot starts, right? So using surface automation, the reference ID will be entered, a button will be clicked, the values are read, and it is going to be displayed in a pop-up, just as you can see it now. Next, you can see that there are multiple lines here, and we are going to be using surface automation to select a particular line. And again, it appears in a pop-up. Then we go to another tab where we select a hierarchical tree. And finally, here we can see that we are selecting from a bunch of radio buttons and a checkbox as well. So it's a very small demo. The point here is to actually illustrate how we can use all these features of surface automation to automate something. And whatever you saw now can, of course, be extrapolated to automate something much more complicated. So I've already given you an overview about RPA and have spoken at some length about surface automation. So now let's quickly see the 7 reasons to choose SAP Intelligent RPA to automate your business processes. The first one, of course, is to achieve process excellence, yeah, with your heterogeneous IT landscape. That's very important. To implement Intelligent RPA, you don't need to change your landscape. You can use it the way it is, right? And it'll basically be able to be automated with our tool. You can capture quick return on investment. You can adopt a holistic approach for automation with an end-to-end SAP portfolio for application embedded, system to system, and system to human automation. You can gain a business user-friendly approach for scaling and industrializing automation. You can use innovative consumption-based commercial architecture to predictably plan and scale automation across your enterprise, which is very important for you, of course, because yeah, I mean, you do have a heterogeneous landscape, and probably you have many companies, many organizations spread across different locations, and this is important then. Make artificial intelligence infusion real in your enterprise. So Intelligent RPA has native intelligence capabilities, plus it also gives you the option to infuse AI algorithms and AI services into your software. And of course, it enables remote working with monitorable software bots working as digital assistants, as I told you, or as digital workers orchestrated from the cloud. So these are the 7 key reasons to choose our tool or our software. Now, how do you get started, right? So I'd like to talk to you a little bit. I mean, this is a very small session. It's barely 20 minutes, and I can't cover everything. But there's a host of information available to you out there, and I just wanted to quickly share that with you. So there is, of course, the SAP community where you can go to. You can try this thing for free. There is a trial going on already. You can buy it from the SAP store. And of course, you can follow us on our social channels. So we are there on Twitter and LinkedIn, and of course, also on YouTube. In case you want to know more about SAP Intelligent RPA, I would request you to look at these related TechEd sessions. So there's a lot of useful information out there. Please do attend these sessions. They're very detailed sessions which actually explain how to use our tool, the new things that we have developed in our tool, how low code, no code will make your life easy, and so on and so forth. Plus, you can, of course, look at our public SAP websites. So there is a SAP community page. There are SAP products website. There is an SAP store. Then, of course, we have an SAP Intelligent RPA bot store as well, in case you're not aware of it. So this is where, for instance, S4HANA team, they are basically shipping a lot of bots. These are best practices using which you can really understand, for instance, how you would automate a finance process or a procurement process or so on. Yeah, so I'm sure there are going to be more detailed sessions of that as well. You can please attend that. And of course, if you want to really, get your hands dirty and understand how to use our tool, then please see our open SAP courses. These are quite popular. Thousands of people have already subscribed and they're already learning this tool. I'd request that you also have a look. And of course, you can continue with your learning experience from SAP TechEd in 2020. I assume these slides are also going to be shared with you. So do have a look. There's a lot of useful content out there for you, right? Um, and that's about it from me. Thanks for attending this session. And if you want more information about SAP Intelligent RPA, you can see the email ID there. Do send us a mail or do contact us on our social media channels. Thank you.